Thank you. Representative
Thank you.
Giaquinta.
Thank you, Madam Vice President. Thank you, Madam Vice President. Like Democrats in every state legislature, we have a big fight ahead of us here in Indiana. However, we're determined to keep abortion safe, legal, and accessible for Hoosier women. Unlike our colleagues on the right, we understand that abortion is a deeply personal decision that is best left up to a woman and her doctor, not members of the General Assembly. This proposed legislation from Senate Republicans is an all-out ban on abortions with narrow exceptions, which will have drastic consequences for women, especially women of color and low-income women who are already disproportionately impacted by inadequate health care access and Indiana's horrific maternal mortality rates. Instead of punishing women for getting pregnant by restricting access to a safe and common health care procedure, we should be focused on advancing our state's health care infrastructure to help women get the care they need, whether that's to prevent pregnancy or to stay healthy during pregnancy, and helping Hoosiers get back on their feet financially. Oops, whoopsie. A debate on abortion is ultimately an unwinnable culture war. If Indiana Republicans have their way and outlaw abortion, women will die. That doesn't sound like a pro-life win to me. We in the House Democratic Caucus will do everything in our power to protect a woman's right to own her own body. Now I'd like to turn it over to the leader of the Indiana Senate Democrats, Greg Taylor.
Thank you, Leader Giaquinta. Indiana currently is the only state in the nation holding a special session to ban abortion. We were scheduled to be here to provide economic relief for struggling Hoosiers, but the supermajority has taken this as an opportunity to erode away the human rights by stripping away an important component of health care. This is the beginning of a process that, if successful, will have deadly outcomes for pregnant women in the state of Indiana that already has the third highest maternal mortality rate in the country. That's why Democrats in this body are ready to fight with everything we've got for Hoosier women and for families who deserve the freedom to make their own decisions about their family planning and reproductive considerations without government interference. The freedom to privacy to establish under Roe has protected Hoosiers for 50 years, and my caucus will be fighting for what Hoosiers want, which is for the Indiana legislature to leave private medical decisions to Hoosiers and their doctors. Thankfully, residents in our state have been vigilant since the reversal of Roe, and they have been amazingly relentless in making their voices heard, even today as we see many people gather at our State House. Today, the State House is packed with thousands of our citizens who want to make it clear that the supermajority's effort to push a total ban through the legislature is not the will of the people of Indiana. Women will not go quietly into the night, and Democrats in the State House hear the cries of healthcare workers, women, and Hoosier families who do not support the Republicans' reproductive policies. As we prepare to fight against this unpopular ban, I want to thank Vice President Kamala Harris for taking time from her global schedule to join us in Indiana to bring awareness to our fight for women's health care. This is going to be a long and hard battle, but my caucus will be standing with women across the state and the nation every step of the way in this critical fight for privacy, liberty, and life-saving health care access. Thank you.
Thanks, Senator Taylor. I'm now going to turn it over to Representative Cherish Pryor.
Thank you, Vice President Kamala Harris. It is good to be with you again, although I can't say this is for the best circumstances. I would love my state to be in the spotlight on a positive note. Unfortunately, we are here because the U.S. Supreme Court made a bad decision as it relates to abortions. And Republicans in my state, Indiana, have decided to make restrictions on this safe medical procedure. Just a few weeks ago, Indiana made national headlines because a 10-year-old child was forced to come to Indiana for an abortion. She was able to get that safe medical procedure right here in Indiana. She is a baby. Why should we force babies to have babies? But this really isn't about right to life. It is about controlling birth. Because if life were truly the goal, then we will be taking care of children who are already here. But that is not happening. Year after year, Democrats fight to protect programs and services for families and children. As a matter of fact, we can't even get a bill passed for pregnancy accommodations. Life is not just being born, it is also the quality of life and the dignity the person has while they are living. Data reveals that maternal mortality rates in Indiana is the third highest in the nation at 44 births per 100,000, 44 deaths per 100,000 births. It is estimated that a ban in Indiana will lead to a 21% increase in the number of pregnancy-related deaths overall. For Black women, that number is 33%. This is a crisis that is killing Black women at 2.5 times the national rate. Health disparities for Blacks was amplified when COVID hit. These disparities are something the African American community has known for some time. Since abortion is a medical procedure, it should be a decision a woman makes for herself and not a general assembly of mostly men who are clueless about what women have to go through. For 50 years, women have had a right to an abortion. That right was carelessly taken away by the U.S. Supreme Court. We are the country of freedom and liberty, except when it comes to women making decisions for themselves. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Pryor. Senator Jean Breaux.
Thank you, Leader Jean Quinta. First, let me say I am so excited and grateful to you, Madam Vice President, for taking time out of what I'm sure is an incredibly busy schedule to come to Indiana and shine a national spotlight on what is happening and about to happen in this state regarding abortion. Indiana already ranks third in the country for maternal mortality. And African American moms are 243% more likely to die from pregnancy or childbirth-related causes than white women. Indiana's infant mortality rate is the 7th highest in the nation, and Black babies in Indiana die at 2.5 or 2.5 times the rate of white babies. This is not okay. I am frightened for our communities, and I am angry that Republicans not only continue to ignore these real life and death situations for families, but particularly poor white families and families of color, but are instead redoubling these dangers by removing abortion as a maternal health care option. I am extremely concerned for the lives of women. Total abortion bans, similar to the one proposed by Indiana Republicans in Senate Bill 1, will lead to a 21% increase in the number of pregnancy-related deaths overall and a 33% increase among Black women. This does not include the deaths resulting from attempted abortions and potentially dangerous, unlicensed facilities. Lack of abortion access in a state with an already abysmal maternity care system will kill women. What Republicans want to do by placing a very restrictive ban on abortion access will have a devastating effect on the lives of women. As a woman and a Black woman, I reject what I see as harassment and terrorism of women and our rights to reproductive freedoms. I stand ready to continue the fight to protect the health and safety of all Hoosier women. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Bro. And finally, Representative Carson, thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you, Congressman.
Well, Mr. Giaquinta, we appreciate your leadership, and we certainly are honored to have the Vice President here. We know the Supreme Court, with this decision in Dobbs versus Jackson's Women's Health Organization, they've effectively stripped away Americans' freedom to make their own health care decisions, including those about abortion. Every situation in pregnancy is different. We trust the people, not politicians, to make their own decisions about their health, lives, and bodies. For Republicans, overturning Roe is only the beginning. Their very extreme agenda includes plans to criminalize abortion across our country, and next they will take aim at other basic human rights, including birth control. House Democrats in Congress and in Indiana are fighting this radical and reckless GOP agenda, and this is a crisis situation, and the devastating impacts are being felt across our country. So we appreciate you, Mr. Giaquinta, the Black Caucus, and all of my Hoosier representatives and legislators here, as well as the Vice President, who has shown tremendous leadership. That is the mark of a true leader, to take time out of her very busy schedule to come to the great Hoosier state and stand with Hoosiers and Americans. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Carson. Madam Vice President, it is so an honor to have you here with us today. It really is. And we were just together a couple weeks ago having a similar conversation. And I just want to say that I really do appreciate your leadership, the President's leadership on this issue, and really for all that you are doing to fight for reproductive rights for women. It's an honor to have you here. Thank you again for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you, Representative Giaquinta. The representative came to visit with me in Washington, D.C. To talk about all of you and the people of this beautiful state. And it was from that conversation that he also made an invitation for me to come and visit with you. And so I'm here today to thank you, because the people at this table are not only local and state leaders, you are national leaders on the front lines of one of the most critical issues facing our country. I want to thank Representative Carson for joining me and flying in with me today, and for your leadership in Washington, D.C., representing the people of the state of Indiana. As has been said, the United States Supreme Court, in the Dobbs decision, took a constitutional right that had been recognized from the people of America, the women of America. Let's contemplate what that means in and of itself. That in a land that was founded on the important principles of freedom and liberty, that such a thing would happen, and not without grave consequence. So that is the context in which we meet and fight. This has created a healthcare crisis in America. And as has been said, Indiana has already been on the forefront of this very issue. As Representative Pryor described, one of the more publicized and well-known cases in terms of what this issue means to real people, including children. And I will tell you, around our country, we are seeing indeed many states, since the Dobbs decision and attempting even before, to criminalize health professionals, to punish women. States that are creating no exception for rape or incest. And I am a former prosecutor. I specialized in crimes against women and children. I specialized in child sexual assault cases. The idea that in some states, after a child or a woman or a man, but in particular on this case of abortion, a woman or a child would have endured such an act of violence, and then to suggest that she would not have the autonomy and authority to make a decision about what happens to her body is outrageous. So these are the parameters of this issue. And of course, there are more. I would also say that on this issue, one does not have to abandon your faith or your beliefs to agree that the government should not be making this decision for her. An individual should be able to choose based on their personal beliefs and the dictates of their faith, but the government should not be telling an individual what to do, especially as it relates to one of the most intimate and personal decisions a woman could make. Here in Indiana, I am here to support these extraordinary and courageous leaders, and in particular on this day, where Indiana is the first state since the Dobbs decision to convene a special session to propose a law that includes, based on what is being proposed, what essentially will be a ban on abortion for women. Because do be clear, and maybe some people need to actually learn how a woman's body works. But when you understand how a woman's body works, you will understand that the parameters that are being proposed mean that for the vast majority of women, by the time she realizes she is pregnant, she will effectively be prohibited from having access to reproductive health care that would allow her to choose what happens to her body. So these are the realities. The president has signed an executive order to protect women's access to abortion medication and has taken action to protect the constitutional right to interstate travel. And we will do everything in our power to follow through on those commitments. But what we know is that this issue of access to reproductive care and a woman's right to make decisions about her body relate to other risks that have been posed by the Dobbs decision. We are looking at an interpretation of the Constitution that suggests, Clarence Thomas said the quiet part out loud, that this puts at risk an individual's right to make decisions about contraception, puts at risk the right to marry the person you love. So when we discuss this issue and when we contemplate what it means, understand that it could have a profound impact on just about everyone in our country who has any association or interest or concern about these various issues. So for all of those reasons, what these leaders at this table are doing right now to stand in defense of the women of this state is by extension to stand for the rights of women throughout our country. The President and I take seriously our work that is about protecting the health, the safety, and the well-being of the women of America, and that includes the women of Indiana. And that is why I'm here, and I look forward to our conversation, and I thank you all again for your leadership.